Some much needed work being done at a tri-state airport.
WGEM's Claire Edlund is back from Pittsfield to tell us why city officials say it couldn't wait any longer. Claire.
Daniel and Mackenzie over at the Pittsfield Penstone Airport. Overgrown tree lines on both ends of the runway have been blocking the line of vision for pilots to land. Mayor Gary Mendenhall says workers were removing trees all week and patching up soil which can erode the runways over time. He says although the airport does not offer commercial flights, it's used more than you would think, and the people who do use it help boost the local economy.
It's used by, matter of fact, one of our biggest industries here is the hunting industry, and we have a lot of hunters that fly in and just leave their vehicle there, and they'll fly in and out during deer season multiple times.
Mendenhall says work is just about wrapped up on the $180,000 project that will make the airport compliant with the FAA rules. He says this isn't something they should have to do ever again. Claire Edlund, WGEM News.
All right, thank you, Claire. And Mendenhall says the city will soon receive state money to replace an array of outdated equipment at the airport. He says that will help with services such as snow removal.